Father was originally a down-and-out prince nearly freezing to death in the cold palace. Mother, with her system, used her own health, even the well-being of one of her legs, to exchange for his peerless beauty top-tier talent and the supreme throne. But the moment he ascended the throne, he turned around and brought into the palace as empress the very enemy who had crippled Mother's leg. He said to Mother from his lofty position, "You now have a leg ailment and are unworthy of the empress position. From now on, just be a consort obediently." Mother didn't cry or make a scene. She simply summoned her system calmly on the day of the empress coronation ceremony, reclaim all the talents and fortune I gave him, and transfer everything to my daughter. That very night, Mother faked her death and escaped, while my insufferably arrogant emperor father transformed back overnight into his original mediocre, incompetent down-and-out self. Hey babes, welcome back. It is Elena. The heroine in today's story isn't following some forgive-and-forgetter clingy and desperate tragic script. Since I am the one who helped you conquer this empire, I can just hit Control phase and package all those cheats I gave you and hand them over to our daughter instead. Let's dive in, long press that like button, and let's get started. Father said Mother was his lucky star. Whether it was clothes, antiques, or talent, beauty, whatever he wanted, Mother could conjure it up for him with a flip of her hand. It is just that afterwards, Mother would inevitably suffer from headaches and fever. Latter Father wanted that supreme position. Mother was a bit troubled, but in the end she still nodded. This time, Mother lost the health of one leg, leaving her with a severe leg ailment. After learning this news, Father cried and promised Mother that he would spend lifetime after lifetime with her until their hair turned white together. But later on, Father brought a beautiful auntie into the palace. He told Mother, "Now that I've just ascended to the throne, the situation is unstable. It would be more secure to have a noble lady as empress." I saw Mother's eyes turn red, showing Father a displeased expression for the first time, but Father only remained silent for a long while, then turned and left indifferently. That night, I heard Mother speaking to the void system. I regret this. I knew that Mother was going to leave. On the day Father brought someone into the palace, Mother was holding me while sitting by the window embroidering a sachet for Father. Her embroidery skills were honestly not very good, and her technique was quite unique. Several crooked crosses stitches came together to form a duck that looked somewhat similar in spirit, but not in form, snipping off the excess thread with scissors. Mother picked up the sachet with her fingers full of needle marks and dangled it by the string in front of my eyes a couple times. She smiled at me with her eyes curved. "How is it, little treasure? Your mother's handiwork is pretty good, right?" I naturally played along enthusiastically, pointing at the pattern on it and saying, "Mother is truly clever. After only learning for a few days, this duck is already embroidered so lifelike." Mother's face immediately fell. She clutched the sachet in her hand and pinched my cheek with dissatisfaction. "What are you saying? This is clearly a mandarin duck." "Xiao Bao, your eyes must have gone bad from reading all those picture books lately." Though she said this, she still took out the sachet, looking left and right, carefully, adding a few more stitches to it. I sighed, propped up my chin, and continued staring blankly at the little birds and falling leaves outside the window. Originally, I was the most restless one. What I loved most in life was following Mother to the military camp to watch the general uncles practice martial arts. When luck was good, I could even ride on a pony as tall as me, or have Mother take me to stroll through the shops. After one round, the newest and most precious things would often end up in my pocket. But ever since Mother injured her leg, she rarely went out anymore. In the past, when Father was around, Mother would still go out for walks every few days. When Father carried Mother onto the sedan chair, when he pushed Mother around the streets for a leisurely stroll, her face always wore a smile. But gradually, Father came less and less frequently. Last time, when Mother wanted to go to the shop to check the accounts, her personal maid-sister Wenchu stopped her with a troubled expression. "If Madam wishes to leave the palace, you must first request His Majesty's verbal decree." Mother was stunned for a moment, then nodded in agreement. It is just that the eunuch Xiaoshazi who went to request the imperial decree hadn't returned for a long time. Mother sat in her wheelchair, waiting at the palace gate from dawn until dark. In the end, all she got was, His Majesty is busy today." From that day on, Mother never stepped out of the palace gate again. After fussing around for quite a while, Mother finally put down the sachet, then turned and picked up a bright yellow sleeping robe to tinker with. Now that Mother could no longer go to the battlefield, she still couldn't sit idle, always thinking about doing something more for Father. The embroidered sachets and hand-warmer covers she'd finished had already filled a whole chest, just waiting for when Father came to give them to him. As for when Father would actually come, Mother said, "Don't you worry about that." A commotion suddenly came from outside the room. It had truly been a long time since we'd heard such noise. I was hesitating whether I should be an unfilial daughter and leave Mother behind to go check out the excitement. Then I saw Sister Wenchu walking in hurriedly with quick steps. She looked troubled, her mouth opening and closing, as if wanting to say something but finding it hard to speak. Finally she closed her eyes, and as if abandoning all restraint, she spoke. "Madam, please hurry outside and take a look. Something big has happened, His Majesty." Mother's face went pale, and without even remembering to take her cane, she rushed out. With her injured leg, she stumbled unevenly to the palace gate, then suddenly froze in place. Being small with short legs, I finally managed to catch up with great difficulty. Seeing Mother standing there frozen, he also stopped in my tracks and poked half my head out from behind her, puzzled. A bright yellow, extraordinarily luxurious imperial palanquin was parked outside the palace gates. I recognized this. My tutor had told me that this was something only the Emperor could ride in. Even Mother wasn't allowed to use it. Father, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, stepped down gracefully from the palanquin. I hadn't even had time to feel happy yet. The bright yellow curtains fluttered in the wind, vaguely revealing another silhouette. Father had just steadied himself when he turned back and extended his hand toward the palanquin. A slender, delicate white hand was placed into his palm. A dignified and elegant woman was helped down from the carriage steadily by the ruler of the nation. I recognized this person too. Back when Mother was still running around outside, she was always at odds with Mother. When Mother opened a tavern, she'd bring people to occupy tables in the shop and drive away customers. When Mother made rouge and powder, she'd show up with a flushed face, insisting that the cosmetic boxes were mixed with filthy things. Later, both the tavern and the cosmetics shop closed down, and Mother went to the battlefield. Her Prime Minister father then blocked the relief military provisions, forcing Mother and all the soldiers to fight the enemy army for several days on empty stomachs. In the end, Mother's strength gave out, and her right leg was severely injured by the enemy army. From then on, she could only walk with difficulty. I didn't know what Father's behavior meant, but looking at Mother's ashen face, an inexplicable unease rose in my heart. "Shushafeng, Yu-yo," Mother hesitantly, tremblingly spoke. Father turned his head, as if just noticing her. He paced on his feet. A look of hesitation crossed his face, but finally steadied his expression and brought the person before Mother. Feigning composure, he said in a light tone, "Ah, yeah, this is Miss Lin Wana, daughter of the Prime Minister's family. She is entering the palace today. Now that your legs are inconvenient and you can't go out, wouldn't having Wana keep you company be a wonderful thing?" Hearing this, Mother's eyes widened in disbelief. She stared intently at Father and the woman beside him. In those eyes that always held a smile, something seemed to shatter. In the center of the courtyard, the old tree's yellowed leaves curled up and fell silently. Father's gaze began to wander uncertainly, looking left and right, even more guilty than when I got caught by my tutor for not finishing my homework. After a long while, an almost broken whisper squeezed out from Mother's throat. Why? Her voice suddenly rose, becoming hoarse and shrill. Why her of all people? "How could you? How dare you bring her before me?" Mother's chest heaved violently. So angry she wanted to rush forward and slap Father, but her injured leg stumbled against the doorframe. She could only fall to the ground in a wretched, unwilling heap. I hurriedly ran to Mother's side, struggling to help her up. Father took a slight step back, a flash of anger crossing his eyes. He was now the Emperor, and it had been a long time since anyone dared to offend him so publicly. But in the end, he was in the wrong in this matter. He lowered his head and coughed twice, softening his tone somewhat, looking down at Mother from above. "Ah, Yue, it has been quite some time since I ascended the throne. With only Juana as my child, taking concubines is a matter of time. You shouldn't fuss over those petty squabbles between women anymore. You've been by my side for a long time. I won't treat you poorly. You'll have your place in the harem from now on. Been by your side for a long time." Mother savoured these words as if she'd heard the biggest joke in the world. "Chu Shifeng, on the day of your coronation, you swore before heaven and earth that you'd spend your whole life with me alone. It hasn't even been a year since you took the throne. So how have I already become someone who has been by your side for a long time? When you begged me to fight your wars and strategize for you before, you weren't like this at all. The current emperor is so heartless and faithless, breaking his vows. Aren't you afraid of divine retribution?" As soon as these words came out, everyone around us dropped to their knees with a collective whoosh. Such words could be considered treasonous. The palace maids and eunuchs all fell silent, afraid the emperor's rage would implicate them. Sure enough, the next moment, Father's furious and humiliated voice echoed throughout the entire palace hall. He was both anxious and embarrassed, as if trying to cover up something, loudly shouting to stop her. "Liye, how dare you? I am the ruler of this nation. Taking consorts and establishing an empress is a matter of state, all for the sake of the realm and its people. How can you meddle and make such a scene? Look at your behavior now. How are you still fit to be the wife of a nation's ruler?" Guards before he could finish. That Linwana behind Father coughed lightly at just the right moment. She walked forward slowly, patting Father's arm as if to comfort him. "Your Majesty, Lady Li comes from humble origins and barely knows how to read, so naturally she cannot understand your Majesty's painstaking efforts. But please rest assured, your Majesty, once this concubine enters the central palace, I will surely treat Lady Li like my own elder sister, and I will personally teach her these principles in the future." That is what she said, but I could see the poisonous malice in her eyes almost drowning Mother. "What do you mean?" The colour completely drained from Mother's face. "Enter the central palace. Chu Shifeng, are you making me a concubine?" No matter how disappointed and pained Mother was, she had only thought Father couldn't escape having multiple wives like an ordinary household. She just never imagined Father would be so heartless as to make his legal wife step down and give up her position, and to her own enemy at that. Father closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he looked at Mother again, his eyes were filled entirely with coldness. "You are from a commoner background, and now you are even disabled. By all rights and reason, you can't hold the position of the nation's mother. Juana is a noble young lady from a prestigious family. She has received instruction from renowned teachers since childhood, virtuous, gentle, and of noble character. The position of empress should be hers. From now on, she'll be empress and you'll be a consort. You must prioritize her and get along well with her. Don't lose your dignity." With each sentence, Father said, Mother's expression grew colder. In the end, she fell into an eerie calm. The late autumn evening wind blew against my face, the chill invading my limbs and bones like a flood. I felt that Mother was even colder than me. I turned and burrowed into her embrace, hugging her tightly. Only when I got close did I realize Mother was trembling violently all over. The surroundings were silent for a long while. "Fine, fine, fine." Mother uttered these last few words, one syllable at a time. With that, she gritted her teeth and struggled to stand up. Mother was thin, skinned, though she never said it. I knew she didn't like others staring at her injured leg, which is why she didn't like going out. But now, in front of everyone, Mother took quick, large strides, wobbling crookedly as she walked into the house. I quickly got up and followed her. In my haste, I looked up and saw a teardrop flash across Mother's face. Father seemed to say something else. There was a commotion behind us, but Mother quickly left it all behind, blocking out all those mocking or pitying gazes. Mother finally couldn't hold it in anymore and slowly slid down against the wall to sit on the ground. Bean-sized scalding tears fell drop by drop, her lips bitten until blood seeped out. I was a bit at a loss, could only clumsily use my hands to wipe away her tears. Mother looked up at me, and when she saw me so anxious I was covered in sweat, her body suddenly paused. Then she hugged me tightly. Suppressed crying finally sounded out in choked sobs, then was buried in my small embrace. Late at night, I curled up in Mother's arms, dozing off. Half dreaming, half awake, I seemed to hear Mother talking to someone. Her voice after crying was still hoarse, sounding illusory and hazy. System. I regret it. Let me go home. The heavy drowsiness faded away at once. The voice by my ear became even clearer. I heard a strange voice without any emotion. All right, host. Transmigration system number 305 is at your service. A voice that clearly didn't belong to this world made my heart panic. Can you take my daughter with me? Mother gently stroked my head, with a faint sense of attachment and reluctance. Sorry, host, according to the rules. You cannot take anything from this world with you. Mother was silent for a long time, finally responded in a low voice. Okay. Tears instantly blurred my eyes. My vision blurred, and I pursed my lips, holding back my tears from falling. I should be happy for Mother. This past year since Mother injured her leg, I watched her go from her former vitality and vigor to now, with a heart as dead as ash in this tiny corner of the palace. At first, Father came every day to comfort her, but later he always used being busy with affairs as an excuse, not even coming once a month. No, Father is taking a new wife. It is Father who has wronged Mother. It is best for Mother to leave. But I still feel a bit sad. I am about to lose the person I love most. From now on, we'll be separated by distance, never to see each other again in this life, never to ask about each other's well-being. Complex emotions surged up and down in my chest. I don't know if I was sleepy or just cried myself out, but in a daze I fell into a deep sleep, so I didn't hear Mother's final mumbling to herself. I will leave my daughter the most precious thing in this world. Mother agreed with that strange voice to leave in 3 days. The next day when I got up, I pretended nothing had happened and followed Mother step by step. I didn't expect Father to come again. He didn't mention yesterday's events at all, only said coldly, "In 3 days is Wanna's Empress coronation ceremony. You must move out of Cheng'an Palace now. This is the residence of empresses throughout the ages. You are no longer suitable to live here." Hearing Father's words, I pursed my lips and felt like crying again, because Mother was also leaving that day. These words were so cold and heartless, but Mother's face was expressionless, left with only a deathly calm. She didn't even glance at Father, just gently patted my shoulder. "All right, we'll move." Father seemed unprepared for Mother's reaction. The crying, questioning, even begging he had anticipated never came, though this was the most trouble-free outcome for him. His face turned pale, then flushed. Seeing Mother turn to close the door again, Father caught up in 2 steps, even explaining with a hint of urgency. "I've just ascended the throne. My position is unstable. I need the support of a noble family's daughter." "Ah, yeah. You used to be the most understanding. You even sacrificed this leg for me. How come now you've become so petty instead?" Mother's eyes reddened as she turned back to look at him in disbelief. I suddenly felt Father had become so unfamiliar. His self-righteous expression even looked somewhat ugly to me. Mother looked at him in silence for a long while, finally letting out a soft sigh. "Forget it. It is my fault. I am the one who made you become like this." "Mother," I called out to her timidly, my small hand clutching tightly at the corner of her clothing. She lowered her head, showing me an extremely faint yet unusually gentle smile. "Little Bao, don't be afraid. We're just changing where we live. That place might be more comfortable." After packing our few belongings, I followed Mother as we left. Looking back, Father still stood quietly in the courtyard, his figure inexplicably somewhat desolate and lonely. The newly moved palace was small and remote. People in the palace were used to kowtowing to the powerful and trampling on the weak. Now that the new empress was about to enter the palace, between a lady who hadn't been conferred a title yet and an obscure princess. Smart people all knew who to choose. What happened at Cheng'en Palace that day, under the instigation of those with ulterior motives, spread out to some extent. That day, the meals sent by the Imperial Household Department were all cold, but Mother didn't care at all. She held me and sat down on the icy stone bench, gently cradling me in her arms. I almost greedily enjoyed this rare remaining warmth. "Little treasure," Mother called out to me, her voice very soft, like a feather brushing past my ear. Mother might have to go on a long trip soon, and won't be able to come back for a very, very long time. My heart suddenly sank, and I lifted my hands to hold her tightly. "Then Juana will wait here for Mother, no matter where Mother goes. Juana won't change. Juana will always love Mother." Mother's eyes reddened, her tears fell down, dripping on my forehead, scalding hot. "Good," she choked up. "Mother too, no matter where. Mother will always love you." For the next 2 days, Mother was unusually busy. She personally went to find Father, kneeling at the door for 3 hours before getting the verbal decree to leave the palace. Summonon, who hadn't gone out for a long time, enduring everyone's strange looks, went in and out of the palace leaning on a cane. Palace servants whispered, "Lady Li never liked going out before, so why is she being so attentive now that the new empress is about to enter the palace? She wants to win His Majesty's favour, of course. Before she acted all high and mighty because she had done His Majesty a favour. Now that a newcomer is entering the palace, isn't she getting anxious? How could she not be anxious? She has been in the palace for over a year without a title. When the Empress entered the palace, His Majesty directly declared a general amnesty and even distributed silver to all the palaces. Whose side his heart is on? Isn't that obvious?" Mocking laughter rang out without any attempt to conceal it. My eyes turned red with anger, and I wanted to go argue with them. Mother stopped me, shaking her head slightly at me, and led me away expressionlessly. Everyone said that Lady Li was doing this to compete for favour, using every trick in the book. But I knew Mother was doing this to leave me a way out. The night before Mother's departure, she gave me a box containing thick stacks of banknotes and property deeds, all things she had fought for Father in the past. Mother pinched my cheek and coaxed me softly. "Mother has put all of little Bao's favourite foods and toys in here. From now on, whatever little Bao wants, just go to the shop and ask Uncle Shopkeeper for it. If one day little Bao wants to go out and explore the world, just take this little box with you, and you won't have to fear anything." I took the box and set it aside, then greedily burrowed into Mother's embrace. At that time, I only knew that Mother had arranged my meals for the rest of my life, and even if I left everyone, I would still be doing very well. Little did I know that what she truly left me would be so precious. On the morning of the 3rd day, which was the day of the Empress enthronement ceremony, the entire palace became bustling. The sound of drums and music faintly came from the direction of the distant main hall, making this small palace seem even more desolate. Mother held me in her arms, listening to the sounds outside the window, sleepless through the night. Listening to the music from outside, after who knows how long, she said in a low voice, "The time is almost here, system." I heard her say in an extremely soft voice, "Final confirmation. All the talents and fortune I've left behind in this world are to be transferred to my daughter, Chu Huan." Confirmed, host. An almost imperceptible warm current, like a ray of winter sunlight, slowly flowed into my body. Then Mother closed her eyes under the first rays of morning sunlight. She gradually fell silent. In the courtyard, the withered branches of the old pear tree swayed gently in the wind. The cool breeze slipped through the doors and windows that weren't closed tight. I shrank further and further into Mother's embrace, feeling the last warmth of her protection. From the distant front hall came the sound of worship like a roaring tsunami. Long live the Empress, long live Yahas. The ultimate Uno reverse card, amazing. I thought Mother was just running away in sadness, but she went straight for a pull the rug from under his feet. Move. Doesn't the scumbag think his talent, looks, and status are all just natural? Doesn't he think mother with her leg disability isn't worthy of him anymore? Those buffs were all things I exchanged from the system to give you now. This lady's done, taking them all back for my precious daughter. The best inheritance ever. This is the real operation of a true female lead. From this moment on, all little Princess Chuhuan will carry max-level cheats and start the OP female lead script, scumbag. Are you ready to face your true mediocrity? At night, father, dressed in luxurious wedding robes, stepped into the dilapidated palace gates. He didn't approach, just coldly glanced at the person on the bed. Remember to get up early tomorrow to pay respects to the Empress. Don't lose face. A deathly silence filled the room. I held the box, sitting dazed by the bedside, ignoring him. Father glanced at me, frowned impatiently, and strode over to the bed. Li Ye, what tantrum are you still throwing? Look at yourself now. You've even instigated Juana into losing all manners. He reached out his hand, wanting to grab mother, but his fingertips stopped in an instant. Where his hand touched felt terrifyingly cold. He jerked his hand back, then reached toward mother's breath in disbelief. Impossible, this can't be. His head was buzzing, and he muttered out in confusion. Then he grabbed me and pressed down hard on my shoulders. Your mother, what is wrong with your mother? A shattering pain came from my shoulders, but I just looked at him with empty eyes. Mother, she is gone home. Father seemed to have gone mad. He summoned all the imperial physicians in the palace. The dilapidated, cramped room was filled with a mass of people kneeling down. Hurry up and cure her, or else I'll make all of you be buried with her. The lead elderly physician kowtowed tremblingly, his forehead pressed tightly against the icy ground, his voice strained. Your humble servants are terrified. Your Majesty, but Lady Li has been deceased for quite some time now. There is truly nothing we can do to bring her back. How dare you? What nonsense are you spouting? Father flipped over the only table in the room, the sound of shattering cups piercing. She was just fine yesterday. How could she suddenly die? Use the best medicine for me and bring her back to life right now. Having said that, he rushed to the bedside again and tightly held mother's cold body in his arms. Ah, yeah, you are just trying to scare me, right? I am begging you, wake up soon. The person in his arms remained silent and still, her face as peaceful as if in sleep. The fast before my eyes had nothing to do with me. I looked out the window, where two birds on a withered tree were huddling together for warmth. I thought mother leaving now was just right. When it gets cold, her injured leg always hurts. This year, mother should be able to have a proper winter. Father sent everyone away, stood there dazed while holding mother's hand, spacing out by the bedside. He turned a deaf ear, like a cornered beast, refusing to leave no matter what anyone said. It got too noisy. I snapped back to reality and looked at him in confusion. Father, aren't you going to marry a new wife? Why are you so angry now that mother is gone? Father froze, then stammered, and finally squeezed out a sentence. I am just doing this for the greater good. As if he suddenly found an outlet, he said many things to me, not caring whether I understood or not. The previous dynasty was in turmoil, military power had no master. Everyone wanted a piece of the pie. Prime Minister Lin is a veteran minister of 3 dynasties who intended to suppress and establish authority. I just ascended the throne. My foundation is unstable. He is restraining me at every turn. And then there is all that piled up government affairs and those covetous vassal kings. This court can be said to be like walking on thin ice, unable to move an inch. I am really too tired. Father covered his face in pain. Just marrying Lin Hua would solve all these problems. Why wouldn't your mother compromise for me even a little? Clearly, she could even give up her life for me. As he went on, Father's tone even carried a hint of resentment that he himself hadn't noticed. But when he said this, I became even more puzzled. Then who used to do all these things for you? Who allowed you to sit in this position without a care in the world? It was mother occasionally late at night. Mother would hold me and tell me stories of the past. I remember them all, Father was an unfavored prince who should have frozen to death in a winter no one cared about. Perhaps because their experiences were similar, what was merely a few short lines of description in the book left such a deep impression on Mother that she could never forget it. That is why she chose without hesitation to transmigrate to this world. The story at the beginning was just like in those storybooks. A girl who descended like a miracle saved the young boy in the cold palace, bringing hope of survival. At first, Mother could only exchange for some coarse grains from the system. Simple sweet potato porridge and baked potatoes. Father would eat every last bit and lavishly praise Mother's cooking as comparable to the imperial chefs. Later, Mother started doing some simple tasks. The tasks brought comfortable clothes and sturdy tables and chairs, slowly filling up the dilapidated and empty house. Father, having no way to repay her, stayed up for several nights and secretly carved a wooden hairpin to give to Mother, whether out of shyness or because he felt the gift wasn't proper enough. When Father gave her the hairpin, his face flushed red, and he didn't even dare to meet Mother's eyes. But Mother smiled with her eyes crinkling, lowered her head, and let Father personally put on the first gift he had given her. Mother seemed to especially cherish the memory of those days. After all these years, when she talked to me about this, she still couldn't hide her joy. She praised that hairpin to the skies, saying things like Lubin reincarnated, exceptionally talented. All kinds of extreme praise were heaped upon Father by Mother. Actually, I've seen that hairpin too, even compared to the one sold for 3 coins on the street. It was inferior, just barely had its edges polished smooth, but Mother treasured it and wore it for several years, until it became somewhat worn. Then carefully put it away in a box. For a long time life continued being this ordinary and steady. The two of them, both destitute since childhood, didn't care about wealth and glory. As long as they had enough to eat and wear, they could live happily together. So when did all of this start to change? I wondered aimlessly. Suddenly, something I'd heard once and then forgotten inexplicably popped into my mind. It was at a New Year's banquet, a rare occasion for Father to show his face in front of everyone. A prince at the feast didn't recognize him and scolded him, mistaking him for a minor eunuch. Although the palace attendants nearby reminded him promptly, he still muttered something. With that frail and delicate frame, he really does look just like those castrated eunuchs. Father had lacked this and that since childhood. Even eating his fill was a luxury. Compared to those imposing brothers of his, he naturally fell far short. That night, he returned to the palace with a pale face, and, for the first time, proactively made a request to Mother. You can help me write. Seeing Father's pleading yet unwilling eyes, Mother agreed without hesitation, even though this task could very well cost her half her life. The system sent her to a village suffering from a rare epidemic, tasking her to treat the disaster victims there. Mother rushed about among the victims every day, and in a moment of carelessness, she too contracted the disease and nearly didn't make it through herself. Later, the cure was found, the task was completed, and Father gradually became handsome and robust, gaining the bearing of a prince. But Mother was left with lingering health issues. She would cough non-stop whenever the cold wind blew. After that day, what Father wanted was no longer limited to food, clothing, and daily necessities. Distinguished appearance, talent that amazed everyone. I suddenly remembered that last sentence Mother said to Father, "Forget it, it is my fault. I am the one who made you become like this." Hearing my words, Father's eyes suddenly widened. Not knowing what he thought of, his face twisted in pain. He clutched his head and knelt by Mother's bed for the entire night. Early the next morning, only after repeated urging from the chief eunuch, did he stumble to his feet to attend court. Watching his departing figure, I don't know if it was just my imagination, but Father's body seemed to have grown much frailer overnight. Father ordered people to make an ice coffin to seal Mother inside. Fearing this would be my last time seeing Mother, I couldn't bear to leave her side even for a moment. The palace servants seemed to have forgotten about my existence. Not a single person came to check on my situation, having gone without food for a day and a night. Even though I had no appetite, I still felt dizzy and light-headed. There was a commotion outside. and I thought it was the coffin bearers arriving. Unexpectedly, the shabby wooden door was kicked open, and the new empress barged in furiously. Li Yuejing deliberately chose my empress coronation ceremony to die. I'd say she did it on purpose just to spite me. Simone, hurry up and throw her into the bone-dissolving cave in the wilderness. My heart tightened as I rushed over in a panic to stand guard in front of Mother's bed. Seeing me, Lin Wana raised an eyebrow and sneered. That unseemly appearance of yours. You learned it perfectly from your mother, 10 out of 10. I originally planned to teach your mother some rules after entering the palace, but since your mother is gone, you'll take her place. She gave the palace servants beside her a look, and immediately someone came forward to restrain me, seeing someone about to move Mother's body. I struggled with all my might and cried out loudly, "Let me go, don't touch my mother." I bit down hard on the hand restraining me. The person, feeling the pain, flung me aside. The corner of my forehead seemed to hit something hard, and a dull pain came through. But at the moment I had no time to care about that at all. With my vision blurred, I groped around trying to stop them. Lin Wana was furious. "What the hell are you all good for? Can't even catch a little kid. Hurry up and get a move on. His Majesty will be here soon and you'll all have to answer for this." As soon as she finished speaking, a figure appeared right after, bringing with it the cold intent of an approaching storm. "Stop, what are you doing?" Father strode in with big steps and shoved aside Lin Wana, who was standing at the door. Lin Wana fell to the ground in terror. The palace servants nearby all knelt down in a mass, and no one dared to help her up. The palace servants dragging Mother suddenly stopped their movements. Mother's upper body fell heavily to the ground, with only her legs still hanging off the bed. I finally reached Mother and tightly gripped her hand. The smell of blood at the tip of my nose grew even stronger. After a bout of dizziness, my vision plunged into darkness. When I woke up, Sister Wenchu told me that Father had confined the Empress to her quarters. She'll be released sooner or later. That was my first reaction. The Prime Minister would pressure the Emperor at court, and with Lin Wan being the only one in the harem now, she wouldn't be confined for long. Sure enough, in just 3 days, Father couldn't withstand the pressure and released her. As if to compensate, Mother's funeral was held extremely grandly. Father insisted on burying Mother with Empress rites, but faced enormous resistance from both the court and the harem, especially the strong opposition from Lin Wan and Prime Minister Lin. In the end, Mother only received the title of imperial concubine. Liand was buried in the concubine's mausoleum. At Mother's funeral, I saw Father, whom I hadn't seen in a long time. He had become thin and haggard, a completely different person from his former tall and mighty appearance. Yet he looked somewhat familiar to me. Mother had once secretly shown me a magical object called a photo mirror. Father's current appearance bore some resemblance to his down and outlook from over a decade ago in that mirror. I am now an officially conferred princess. I was only 8 years old when Father had already prepared my princess manor and fief for me. I knew he was compensating me with what should have been Mother's share, yet my heart felt not a ripple. I discovered I had become different when I returned to the private school. Articles that were once obscure and incomprehensible to me suddenly became clear. Even the most unruly wild horses submitted at my feet. My tutor was overjoyed and went overnight to petition Father, requesting to focus on cultivating me. Mother had been on the battlefield and cured deadly diseases. Under her subtle influence, the status of women in our dynasty grew higher and higher. So high that at 15, after I personally led troops to provide relief during floods, Father named me Crown Princess. Lin Wana, who had remained childless for years, hated me so much her teeth itched. But now my power rivals that of Prime Minister Lin, and she can't easily touch me. As time went on, I understood more clearly what Mother had truly left me. A robust body, keen intelligence, exceptional appearance. She transferred to me all the trump cards she had given to Father before. She knew that in the imperial family, money and wealth alone couldn't guarantee me a lifetime of peace. Only these could be the foundation of my survival. Whether I wanted to be a happy and stable princess or seek a higher position, the choice was in my own hands. This was also the most a mother could plan for her daughter. Ha ha ha, wait. Let me laugh for a minute first. He just got directly factory reset, didn't he? This part is absolutely brilliant. Without the ability to protect herself, even if mountains of gold and silver were left behind, they'd be spent by Lin Wana sooner or later. So what mother left behind wasn't anything ordinary at all. She directly transferred her entire max. Level account attribute panel to her daughter, intelligence max, combat power max. This is the true female lead legacy. She didn't teach her daughter how to scheme in the inner palace, but instead put the confidence to flip the entire board into her daughter's hands, telling her, "You don't need a king to be a queen." When I saw the part where Chu Huan was made crown princess, I literally got goosebumps all over. All these years, father's health had been very weak. Lin Wana had no children of her own, yet held power over the inner palace and refused to let father take other consorts. Seeing my influence grow stronger and stronger, they finally couldn't hold back anymore. On the day of the New Year's banquet, all the ministers were in the palace raising their cups in celebration. Prime Minister Lin seized the opportunity to stage a rebellion, leading his troops to storm into the imperial palace. Lin Wana sat in the high seat, smugly stroking the hairpin by her temple. She lowered her eyes, looking down at me from above. "Chu Huan, you are indeed much smarter than your mediocre mother. But so what? Haven't you still fallen into my hands now?" The triumphant laughter came to an abrupt halt. The longsword in my hand swung out fiercely, directly piercing through her beautiful dream. Lin Wan's eyes widened. The smile at the corner of her mouth instantly froze, and she collapsed stiffly to the ground. I had already learned of their plan, and secretly arranged for 10,000 soldiers to stand by outside the palace, directly surrounding the Great Hall. Prime Minister Lin was seized on the spot by my soldiers. Father ordered his position as Prime Minister stripped, all his associates thrown into prison, and his entire clan exiled to the bitter cold lands, never to return to the capital for life. But father was also done for. Juan, he lay on the bed, his voice weak, though only about 50 years old now. His hair had already turned white like a 70-year-old man. I stood by the bed, quietly watching him. "I finally held on until the day you grew up. Seeing you as you are now, I can finally face your mother in the underworld to atone for my sins. I know you've always hated me." Father's hand lifted with difficulty, as if trying to grasp something, then fell heavily, gradually losing all sound. I stepped forward 2 paces, reached out to close his eyes, and without knowing when, a tear fell. "I hope father can live a proper, law-abiding life in his next life, but he won't meet my mother again. A few days ago, mother even came to me in a dream. She said she had finally finished a task, and the system promised she could see me once. Mother also said that the decade or so here was merely a short month in her world. When I finish my own task, she'll come to take me to reunite with her." On the day I turned 20, EI ascended to the throne. Under my rule, the country prospered, and the people lived in peace and contentment. I adopted a child from a collateral branch of the imperial clan and raised her to become accomplished. The year I turned 40, I lay in bed, listening to the sounds of wailing around me, and slowly closed my eyes. I felt my body getting lighter and lighter, slowly returning to my 8-year-old form. A white light flashed before my eyes, and a strange passageway appeared. Mother stood on the other side with a smile on her lips, opening her arms to me. Phew, girls. I really clenched my fists while reading this story, and at the end when I saw 8-year-old Chu Huan running into her mother's arms, I couldn't help but break down and cry. This is so beautiful yet so heartbreaking. In this story, the system is just like the sunk costs. We keep pouring into relationships and marriages in real life. Many of us girls are born with a very precious trait, the desire to save others, and a deep sense of devotion. Just like a Niang in the early days, seeing a pitiful young boy in the cold palace who would blush even carving a broken wooden hairpin. She thought, he is so pitiful. I need to help him, to make sure he had enough to eat. She stayed up all night to help him gain a foothold. She fought desperately for him to gain power over the realm. She even sacrificed half her life and health. You joyfully thought you were nurturing a perfect partner, thinking that the day he reached the top would be the beginning of your peaceful years together, sharing prosperity. But the hard truth is, But the hard truth is, when you pull him out of stagnant water, clean him up, dress him in gold, and put him on a pedestal, standing at the heights, the first thing he sees is never the hardship you endured, lifting him up back then, but rather your current disheveled state covered in mud. He'll think you are vulgar, think you carry defects, think you are not worthy of his current radiance. The die in the story, after losing the cheat codes, Anyang gave him talent, looks, health, quickly withered into a mediocre old man who couldn't even control the court, with white hair at just 40. What does this prove? It proves he was never any true dragon emperor. Anyang was the real dragon. His glory was all built from sucking Anyang's blood and sweat. So me beautiful girls, the insight I most want to share with you today is stop trying to build a man. Build yourself. Don't treat your time, your intelligence, your health as investment assets to bet on a man. If you have the ability to make money, go buy yourself a house and a car. If you have amazing talent, go to grad school, start a business, shine bright in your own field. Why would you add all these precious system buffs to someone else and then pitifully beg him not to change his heart? You are the CEO of your own life, not an intern in his. You are the CEO of your own life, not an intern in his. In the final moments of her life, Anyang finally awakened. She transferred all her cheats to her own daughter. Look at Chu Huan. With these cheats, she quelled floods, suppressed rebellions, ascended the throne as emperor, firmly grasping destiny in her own hands. This is the ultimate form of female empowerment awakening, no longer placing hope in a man's conscience, but using your own hands to control imperial power. If right now, at this very moment, you are in a relationship that constantly drains you and makes you more and more insecure, I hope you can have Anyang's kind of courage to cut it off when you say cut it off. Press that withdraw button, take back your tenderness, your energy, your money, all back to yourself. When you start focusing on polishing yourself, you'll discover that you don't need any title, like lucky star at all, because you yourself are the most radiant deity. Alright, that is all for today's Gossip and Heart, to Heart session. Hugs to every girl who clicked on this article. May you all be like little Chu Huan, wielding your sword, invincible in all directions, and be the one and only queen of your own life. Love you to the moon and back. If you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next story.